Welcome to Two Doug's Garage. Well, as you see, there's only one Doug right now. The other Doug isn't here yet. But that's alright. We're going to start by talking about this here bad boy right here. This LS1. You know, this thing's been built. You know, she got some poured and polished heads here. She got a pretty good size cam. I'll link it in, I'll put it in the description what it is, because I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's a Texas Speed cam. We're gonna show you what we're gonna put this in today. Well, at least get the other one out. But this one's got a new home, and it's gonna be sweet. So this, guys, is my 01 Camaro. She is an old beater. She started off as about this, probably, I think it's now 3 or 4 years ago, I can't remember. But you know, she started off as a stock car. I bought this thing for 1,500 bucks. And you know, it had the worst rear end noise I've heard ever. It sounded like a washing machine on agitate. It was bad. But she's a LS1 with a 6-speed. And all that worked really well. So I just fixed the rear end, put some new gears in it, put a new center section in it, did the whole thing by myself. In a driveway, it wasn't really that fun to do, you know. Working outside, you know, not in a shop like this here. This is a beaut here. But you know, the struggle was real back then. But she now has 235-ish thousand miles on her, and she's never been driven nicely, from what I could tell. I know I didn't for the past. I think I've drove this thing probably 30,000 miles since I've gotten it. Got about 207,000 miles. And I beat it every day because it's what it's good for. But now she's got a set of coilovers on her. And so that's about actually it. That's all. And she's got a racing seat in her now. But realistically, oh, and some bigger brakes. I forgot the bigger brakes. But realistically, she's still pretty stock right now, but we're going to change that here today. We're going to start on it right now. So this engine bay is pretty tight, but you know, what we're going to start off with is start by getting some of this wiring disconnected here. The brakes disconnected because I'm just going to drop the whole K member. Also, the ABS sensor's not coming back on this car once it's off. Disconnect some of the stuff up top, and then we'll start going to the bottom here.
All right, guys, as you can see, we are about ready to start dropping the motor out the bottom. Now, we've removed all the wiring, and the wiring that goes inside the car, which Junior will show you in a second here. We've removed all the radiator hoses. We've disconnected the exhaust from the engine, taken off the drive shaft, disconnected the hydraulic clutch line, taken off the brake booster to get to the bolts for your shocks, and we've disconnected everything that is associated that you can see here. Now you're going to find that there's going to be a couple little ground straps and things as you go up, so go slowly. But we also, inside the car, we've taken the shifter out. We're going to raise this up, put it on a table, and then in the time-lapse series you're going to see how we drop it out in slowly. But we look like we're in good shape up above here and pretty much down below. Now he's had to pull the starter and all the wires off the starter to get him down in here. Now he's going to show you a couple little things that are real important for you to take care of.
Like this vacuum hose. Don't break the vacuum hose. Be careful with it. It's going to be a pain. Use a little bit of penetrating oil, whatever you need to do to get that off. Don't break that off.
And it's in your loom.
It's in your loom. Don't break it off. It's totally able to get this off. This here is a desert car, and this has never been apart. So I was expecting it to break. If you're going to expect something to break, you expect it on a plastic piece from a desert car. So there's no excuse for most of you to break your plastic lines. Don't do it. Just be careful. Don't grab and rip. These are just plastic, and they're 90s, and they're horrible.
A note on everything. Taking a little time, unclipping your, releasing your clip locks, carefully taking apart all your connections. You're going to want all those things when you put it back together. You need them to snap back in, or you'll end up with problems later on. And a lot of people get a little bit rushed. They do all come apart. Some are a little more difficult when they haven't been apart, like some of this stuff hasn't been apart since it was built.
A lot of these clips are going to be a little difficult to come apart, and you might find that you got to be very careful with them because they do break. I've had one, like this one here, what's for my main loom here. It's broken. I most likely will take this connector out and repin it with a new one, but that takes time and it really sucks. And it's for one of these here off the main loom. But this is to control everything else what's not on the motor. So,
and these clips are highly important that you keep your connections together when you start running these cars hard. You'll see a lot of things on forums about people having problems with stuff. Usually it's from not taking your time and making sure it came apart together or clipped back together good. And there'll be more segments on that when we get to that point of reinstallation.
Wasn't that hard. The hardest part is inside here. Come here. As you're going up, it's like right here. I can't really see it. Right here is where there's a little junction box for your brake lines. You're gonna have to bring it up like you saw. Stop, undo that, and bust those apart so that your rear lines can go. And if you don't, you're gonna bend the crap out of these lines. Trust me, I know all about it. And then have to bend it back. No.
Let's show them the one other thing we didn't talk about. You need to disconnect your steering shaft.
Don't forget your steering shaft.
This part here down to that part there.
There's a little 13 millimeter that holds it, and it's going to hold you up.
Okay, but if that doesn't work, use the 11 that we used.
Oh, yeah, it was 11, huh? Okay, it was 11. That's what I said, wasn't it? Just like a 13, but
math
different.
is hard. Okay, at certain ages, you just don't touch any of them.
Right. So we got the motor out. It's up on this table here. It's ready to kind of be blown apart for its parts what need to be swapped over to that other motor. And cleaned as well, because this thing is filthy.
So while you're away,
dirty black car. It's a dirty black car.
We'll have you on some time lapse, but as you can see, there's a car in the way of a forklift over there, and a way of a motor way over there.
And that car doesn't have a motor in it either.
Well, it's a Corvette. What does it need a motor for? It's beautiful.
That is true. You can just use that 59 as a yard art, and it is.
It's shop art right now.
That is true. All right, let us get set up, and we'll bring you guys back in a second. All right, so this is pretty definitive truth of this rear main seal was trashed. This is gross. And I just recently just recently pulled this all apart not too long ago. This was not like this. And I fixed the rear main seal after I messed it up the first time. This is not the first. The first time was I didn't know better and I didn't use the tool to align the rear main seal. That's the honest truth about that. And I had a horrible mess, and basically I didn't go anywhere with the car. I went around the corner and realized it was leaking so much oil it wasn't even funny. But I put a new rear main seal in it. And then I had consistent clutch grabbing issues with the, this right here. With this bad boy not engaging correctly and putting enough pressure on the clutch. So I've replaced this probably 4 times. Would probably be accurate. We'll put it this way. I'm so good at this, I could pull this transmission out by myself from a full car, pulled into this bay, back in, within 3 hours or so. Really good at it now. Know exactly what I need to do. But this is pretty gross. But as you see, we also did take off the whole wiring loom. When we go back to install it, I'll show you guys how I usually install my wiring looms, because there's usually a little bit of, if you throw it on top and kind of get your bearings straight, if you know where your ECU goes, you can put those plugs that way and it'll line up everything. Harnesses are nothing, they're easy. But I wanted to give you guys a little update, because I didn't have a time lapse going, because I might have just went for it and kind of started working on this thing. You guys know how it is. It's hard to videotape sometimes. All right, I'm going to stop rambling along here.